Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You may delete as appropriate. My name is Chad Landman. Welcome back to Landman EDC. Wuben is at it again. They have started another Kickstarter for another light. This time it's the X4. We're going to compare and contrast this with recent Wuben releases, so don't go anywhere. Let's take a look. All right, so as of this morning on May 8th, 2025, Wuben is starting a new Kickstarter, and they are trying to fund the Wuben X4. This is a longer, heavier duty flashlight than what they released before, the teeny tiny G5, which I'm actually a big fan of, and we're going to compare and contrast here a couple of these models in just a second. But Wuben realized they wanted a compatible 18650 battery flashlight. And so this one right here, if you unlock it, you can actually unlock it and pop it open. You've got a regular 18650 34 milliamp hour battery there. And this is a pretty sizable, good battery, and it's a common battery. So this was their main point. They've got some older designs like the C3 and the L50 that utilize these 18650 batteries, but they wanted something in a little bit more commonplace here as well. So I'm really eager to show you this and try this out, and let's take a look right now. So before we get to that, just to kind of compare and contrast here the other lights that have come out. Now, most notably, the size and structure mimics the X2 Pro here, and you've got that same rotary dial that we'll talk about here and how it functions. But I've still liked the X3. The X3 is the one that has this 90-degree rotating head. It's got that tiny little LCD, OLED LCD on the top there. And it's just been a very good little light for me, and I've carried it a bunch of places. The only thing I didn't like about it was the belt clip. Now, the belt clip on all of these is fairly awkward. This one is a little bit better. I'd say this one is interesting because it had this hump on the back right here. But then you've got these. They're functional. They're fine. They're just not exactly the styling that I would want. On the G5, they changed things up and they made this rotating belt clip here. And I still love the G5. You can tell my G5 is a little bit beat up here because I really do enjoy it. It's just a tiny little light, a multi-directional kind of locking lamp there, and it has a lot of the similarities. So the light we're going to compare this to for the most part is going to be the G5. So you can think about this as the evolution here went from the X2 Pro down to the G5. So you've got that little bitty lamp, and I believe it's the same if you look at the X2 Pro and the G5. I believe that's the same lamp in there right there. And so they took this lamp, put this on this one, and this one actually is just a mini little light that I, again, really, really like. But then they took all the features and kind of sandwiched them together into the X4. Now, it has some unique features, especially this light on the front here that we'll talk about. So you've got this switching mechanism a lot like you had on the G5. And I liked the one on the G5. In fact, I loved the fact that you could cover up the USB port with it and lock it out there. And you can also do the same thing here and lock it out. But the USB port is a little bit more hidden. You have to go all the way up to the moonlight setting here and look at that. And so there's your USB-C port right there. It's actually really well hidden. I actually didn't have it on there. I'm not going to use the moonlight setting a ton, but I didn't even know it was under there until I saw this coming undone right here. So looking at this, you've got obviously these 4 different settings. You've got it locked, and then we'll start at the top. You've got a moonlight setting. So if I hit right here, you're going to get just a tad tiny, very low lumen moonlight setting. You've got what looks like an interesting combination of lights here at the top. And so if I turn these on, I can actually max it out, and that is your 1500 lumen. That is very, very bright. Should be just fine. But then you can step it down with the knob there, and it's stepless dimming, so I really dig that as well. Now you can see that it activates all of those LEDs on the top here, and combined it will activate the 1500 lumen mode there. And I tell you what, I can feel the warmth off of these LEDs. It is very, very warm. So if you step that back down to a manageable level, obviously you have stepless dimming all the way up to 1500 lumens. But where it really gets interesting for me is the tail switch. So you get a tail switch on this one, also with a magnetic base. They managed to put a magnetic base and a tail switch in it. So if I want to, I can just do that and click it on. If you can hear the click here. It's got a nice little click, and it's pretty soft. There's not a lot of force that is being put into that. I just kind of barely touch it to click it and it turns on. But that's really nice to have instant on to be able to do this in a situation. I can see where this would be really valuable for a nice, compact, powerful flashlight for a police officer, for somebody that's working as a park ranger or anything like that, just to be able to do that very quickly and then put it back on your belt. But of course you got that magnetic tail cap. Where the really interesting thing comes in is when you go to the side light. So when you slide the switch to the side light here, you can turn it on and you get an RGB light, a lot like the RGB on the G5. And so I found that the G5 has some decent little RGB light. Now again, that's not going to be very valuable to you unless you use it for specific purposes, like I heard from a photographer who commented on here that's using it for specific purposes. And so that's actually really neat and a really cool idea. But you can actually use the knob here to change to the different LEDs and the different RGBs, which is really cool. You can get a couple of different colors here. And where this really gets interesting is when you press and hold this, you get the LED light bar here. Now I found that this is really interesting because if I'm sitting like this and I just need a little bit of light to write something down, this is going to be perfect for that. So if I'm sitting here and I'm writing about the Wuben X4, blah, 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 and I go, here we go. I've got enough light to be able to write stuff down. So this is actually a really neat little light, and you can ramp that up as much as you want or down as much as you want. You've got 1, 2, 3, 6 LEDs in there that you can get pretty decently bright. That's as bright as it goes right there. And so I like this for writing, but also for just sitting it down like this in a horizontal fashion and turning it down to what you need it to do. And it kind of illuminates, gives you kind of like almost like a mini desk lamp if you're thinking about it. So that's actually a really cool feature. Now these lights, to my knowledge, do not change. They don't change color. They just are regular, just little LEDs in there. And so you can tap that to turn it off. The UI feels like it has been simplified greatly. It feels like that you can use this a little bit more easily. And so of course you've got the lockout switch, so nothing's going to happen with the lockout, nothing's going to happen with the tail switch right there, and that completely locks out the device here, and so you cannot use it. That's good for putting it on there when it's in your pocket as well. The body here is aluminum. It's actually pretty lightweight compared to its size. It's a magnitude lighter than I would believe the X2 Pro, which is based upon. If you compare and contrast the UI on the side, you've got the big click wheel right here, the one activation switch, and then that easy wheel right there to use. And I just really like it a whole lot better. And I think these LEDs on the front, which are 4000K LEDs with an RGB light, I think they're just a lot more useful. And of course that combined with, they've got a locking mechanism here on the battery compartment. You unlock it and then you tap it to open it. So it's very quick. You don't have to pry it open with your fingernail. Dump out a battery. So you can buy extra 13650 batteries, 18650 batteries. And you don't have to buy Wuben ones. You can just buy generic ones. Pop those bad boys in, click it closed, lock that, and then you're good to go on another charge. You're good to go on another charge right there. I think the X4 is a very good addition to the lineup for Wuben here. It's a solid improvement, and that's what I love to see from some of these manufacturers is solid iteration, solid improvement across the board. This is also a cost-effective product. So the Kickstarter starts today, and if you get the super early bird, it starts at $39. So sub $40 for a light that has several different kind of functions and durability and aluminum alloy shell there. So $39.99 to begin with, and then you got an early bird price, $5 more if you get in a little bit later. But go check out the Kickstarter. I will have the link below in the description. And again, thanks to Wuben for sending over the X4. This is going to be a really good camping light, but also a general purpose car light that I'm going to keep in my emergency preparedness bag as well. Thank you so much for tuning into the video today. This has been just a quick review of the X4 from Wuben. Again, thank you to all the partners and to all the people that comment on the videos. If you've got a question about spirituality, if you've got a question about God or Jesus or any religious question, or you just want to talk shop, you want to talk EDC, you want to talk about that different type of stuff, or you want to ask a question, just make sure you sound off below. I love hearing from you. I love legitimate comments. What I don't like is hostile, weird comments, but it's neither here nor there. That's what you get when you're on the internet. Thank you so very much for being a part of the channel today. God bless you, and we'll see you in the next video.